Welcome to Mr. Holloway's Foundational Java Skills series. In this video, we're going to talk about using an array to populate an array list. But before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Class is now in session. Now, in the previous video, we went over an array list. We added numbers, and then we looped through them just to print out the items in the array list. And then down here we used a ForEach loop. Now I saw some repetition here that I didn't like, so I want to kind of address that here. There are cases when, let's say if we're just adding 4 numbers, but let's say we were adding 400 numbers or 4,000 numbers, we wouldn't want to write this 4,000 times, right? So that's not really the way that we want to go with this. And so I'm going to show you how to use an array to populate the array list. All right, so let's do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I need to create an array. And remember, this is an array, so I'm going to use array syntax. We're going to create basically an array of ints, and I'll call this my array. And we're going to declare the values right away. So we're just going to put any group of numbers in here. All right. So now we have our array. And then I need to create an empty array list. So let's use ArrayList syntax. So I'm going to use an integer. So remember that the integer class is actually called a wrapper class, and we are using this because with an array we couldn't populate this with integers like that. So we have to use an integer because an array list actually only accepts objects. All right, so we'll call this one my array list, and we'll set this to a new array list, and we'll fill this part here. We'll call the constructor. Okay, so right now we have an empty array and we have an empty array list. So the next thing I want to do is I want to populate this array using a for loop. So let's do that. So I'm going to say for, and just go ahead and do my skeleton, and we'll set this to I equal to 0, and we'll say, because we're populating the array list with the array, we have to do we'll say my array dot length. Okay, very important here. I'm sorry, let me do this. So as long as I is less than the length. All right, and then we'll use our iterator. So I plus plus. Okay, so again, we're using the array to populate the array list. All right, so now here is where the magic happens. So now we're going to say, let me see. So we want to populate the array. So we're going to say my array list dot add. Okay, because we're basically adding items. And so what we want to do here is inside of here, we're going to say my array. We're going to use this array syntax here, and we're going to say I. So what that is going to do, oops, what is going on here? Okay, so what that is going to do is populate the array. So let's just stop there, and we're gonna do a print statement here. I'm gonna print this out. So I'm gonna do my array list. Okay, so what I think I've done is that we've taken an array that's filled with numbers, and we're going to fill it up with the array list with the array using the for loop. And we're going to do this basically with one line of code. All right, so let's do it. And we got an error because I did not make that a comma. So that should get rid of that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to basically check in to see if we filled up the array. And we have. So now we actually have the array So now our only task now is just to print them one at a time. So let's just take this for loop here. We're going to put this here, and since we're printing the array list, I'm going to say my array list. And remember, this is not it is not an array, so we have to use the size method. All right, so we're going to basically go through the array list, and then we're just going to print this. So now we don't want to add. In this case, we just want to get the value. So we're going to say get I. And that should solve things here. Actually, let's put this in a print statement. So we'll do out.println, and we should get that value. Does it look, we're missing parentheses, closing parentheses. Everything looks good. So let's see. All right, so the goal is we're using an array that has numbers in it, or integers. We're going to fill this up using this. We printed out the value of the array list at this point, and then here we're just going to print out the array list one by one. And for good measure, let me just do this. We'll say nums, and let's run it. And there you have it. So we have the value of the array list. It's been populated with the numbers from the array, and then we loop through for each one, and we print each value for the array list. All right, so that concludes this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video where we talk about 2D arrays. Class is now dismissed.